Well, hey, good morning to you. Welcome to the Book of Enoch, where we're going through the Book of Enoch, verse by verse, because the Book of Enoch is by far the best example of what it'll be like in the days of Noah. If you want to know what it'll be like in the end times, you take a look at what Enoch saw. It's what Jude instructed us to do, as a matter of fact. So as we've gone through this book, where we are is we've hit that place where the giants, they're going to be punished. They're going to kill each other off. And the watchers who laid with women, God has divvied out their punishment as well. But then all of a sudden, Enoch is taken up by the angels, Uriel, Raphael, Raguel, Michael, Seraquel, Gabriel, and Ramiel. And really for multiple chapters, he's going to be seeing secrets of the universe. It's really kind of an incredible place. So it's important we don't just blast through this, that we see the detail. And what we've seen so far is that they took him to a place where there's men who are like flame of fire, and when they desire, they can change form into human form. And these would be angels. And then he brought him to a mountain whose summit reached to heaven, and this is God's throne when he dwells on the earth, or when he's kind of focusing on the earth. And then he sees like kind of an armory, essentially, like God's armory there as well. And we're just going to pick it up there. We'll go back to all this, 17, starting verse 1. And they took and brought me to a place which those who were there were like flaming fire, and when they wished, they appeared as men. And they brought me to the place of darkness, and to a mountain, a point of whose summit reached to heaven. And I saw the place of the luminaries, and the treasuries of the stars, and the thunder, and the uttermost depths, where were a fiery bow and arrows in their quiver, and a fiery sword, and all the lightnings. They took me to the living waters, and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. All right, we're going to pause there. We're going to focus on the luminaries, the place of luminaries. What is this place of luminaries that they took him to? Because ultimately, this goes all the way back to creation. What he's seeing is really kind of like God's workshop, almost, is what he's seeing here. It's really kind of a beautiful thing. And the luminaries are, of course, going to be what you see in heaven, the stars, all of them, including the sun, anything that illuminates, including the moon, just anything that illuminates in the sky. This is the treasury of those things. This is where they were born from. This is where they were created from, ultimately. And it's also what we'll find out in a future episode is where they're destroyed at as well. So we're just going to kind of go back to that moment in time where these luminaries were created. We'll go to Genesis 1, starting verse 14. Then God said, "Let there be light in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, and for days and years. Let them be for light in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. Then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So these luminaries are really designed to divide the light from the darkness, to fill the firmament. There's a moment where Enoch sees the firmament. We'll talk about the firmament, of course, in that episode. But it's essentially this division. The sky divides the earth from heaven, and there's a firmament of water, essentially, that will ultimately divide that. But within that space are the luminaries. These are the stars, the sun, the moon. And again, we'll get into the firmament later, but this is where the treasure of these originated, and also where they're created, where they exist, and where they're destroyed as well, is what we see. And if we go to Amos, we're going to kind of jump around a little bit here. Amos 5:8. He made the Pleiades and Orion. He turns the shadow of death into morning and makes the day dark as night. He calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. And it's really it's important to kind of look at, like he holds the universe in his hands. It's literally like a workshop where he creates these luminaries, where they're created as well as where they're destroyed. This is who is controlled. The Lord is his name. He's the one that controls these things. He's the one that will dominate over these things, create and destroy light and darkness. It's an incredibly fascinating thing, just the fact that he has these treasuries of luminaries that ultimately, as we see, I saw the place of the luminaries and the treasuries of the stars and of the thunder and of the uttermost depths, where were a fiery bow and arrows in their quiver and a fiery sword and all the lightnings. And they took me to the living waters and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And, in a later episode, we'll see that fire in the west consumes these luminaries. And that's where they go to die, ultimately. So there you go. Fascinating stuff, man. Just being able to glance around God's workshop is fascinating. Any thoughts or insights you might have on any of this, definitely put it below. I do want to take a moment and say most people watch this channel, they're not subscribers. Click that subscribe button. It greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that stuff in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.